Morning. Just want to thank Dave Ulrich and Carl for inviting me here today. I always love the chance to come to Marquette. Marquette is my favorite Great Lakes city. I don't know if I can say that. No offense to anybody else, but I'm the environmental coordinator for intertribal fisheries. You can call that ITFAP if you want. What I'm representing CORA, which is a lot easier to say, Chippewa-Ottawa Resource Authority. And CORA is composed of 5 tribes that have treaty rights to hunt and fish in the 1836 treaty area. And I'll show you that if we can get my presentation up here. The tribes have real concerns about mining in our area, especially because tribes, a lot of tribal people count on the environment for their food, for medicine, and for their livelihoods. And our livelihood is fishing. That's our industry. And those fish are neither farmed nor mined. They're just natural. And we want to keep it that way. So the tribes that we represent are up here: the Bay Mills Indian Community over by Sault Ste. Marie, the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians near Traverse City, a Little River Band of Ottawa Indians near Petoskey, Little Traverse Bay Bands, Little River is down by Manistee, Little Traverse Bay Bands of Ottawa Indians near Petoskey, and the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians. This is our treaty area. Our treaty area extends to all 3 lakes. And the 1836 Treaty of Washington between the tribes and the United States government promised that the tribes would always be able to hunt and fish in their traditional areas. So our treaty area actually extends over into the mining region that Dr. Kessler pointed out, the tailings basins there for the Tilden and Empire mines. So part of my job is to test the fish for contaminants, and we've seen a real decline in most contaminants except mercury. And mercury is an issue with mining. It has been in the past, and that's something that is still a real concern for us. Oops. Let's see if I can go backwards. Okay, there we go. Okay. The Lake Superior Binational Program and the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement are something that we have been participating in the Lake Superior Binational Program, the Lake Michigan Lake-Wide Management Plan, and the St. Mary's River Area of Concern. About 10 years ago, we realized that there was a huge surge in exploration and proposals for new mines around Lake Superior, and that could really impinge on the goals of the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement. So we formed a mining committee. And one of the things that the mining committee did right away was to have a series of webinars. We had experts from academia, from industry, and from government to talk about issues including socioeconomic impacts of mining. And here I'm just pointing out that our region, as Dr. Kessler said, has had a long history of mining. It employed thousands of people. People came from all over the world to come here. And now that most of the mines have closed, we have some of the highest unemployment. And that's something that is endemic to mining regions. One of our experts on our webinars was Dr. Tom Power from the University of Montana, and he pointed out the anomaly of mining. There's so much wealth taken from the ground and high wages paid, and yet every mining region in the world is economically depressed and has high unemployment and higher poverty. Think Appalachia, think out west, think Australia and other areas of the world. So it's a real a conundrum of how so much wealth can go to places like New York and London, and yet very little wealth remains in our communities. Our communities are also burdened with the environmental legacy of mining. And here is a Tribag mine north of Sault Ste. Marie, left with a real mess there. These are the tailings basins for white pine copper. It's a large area, and it's visible by satellite. I'll show it in a later slide. And this is the area around Iron River, a mine that was an iron mine but has a real acid drainage problem. And I just want to point out too that I grew up in a mining community, Crystal Falls, which is about an hour from here, and the last iron mine closed down there in 1965, and that town has not recovered it, and that's typical for our area. Another good example is the Keweenaw Peninsula, or copper country as we call it. Very, very rich deposits of copper in that area. Calumet was actually so rich it was supposed to be the capital of Michigan, but all of that crashed in the early 20th century, and now it's one of the most economically depressed areas in the UP. Another issue with those stamp sands are the waste rock from those copper mines in the Keweenaw Peninsula. It's crushed rock, and most of that rock was just dumped into lakes and into Lake Superior. 360 million tons of waste. And if you drive up the coast of the Keweenaw right now, you will be able to see that mine waste along the shore in black sands. Those are stamp sands. And Dr. Charles Kerfoot from Michigan Technological University in Houghton has done a lot of studies on the impacts of those stamp sands, and has found elevated levels of copper and mercury around the Keweenaw Peninsula. It also contributed to a Superfund site at Torch Lake, where millions of dollars of taxpayers' money is being spent to remediate that. You might think that was something in the past, that you would dump mine waste directly into the largest source of fresh water in the world. But in our life, or in my lifetime anyway, up until 1980, there was an iron company that was dumping their waste into Lake Superior, 500 million tons of waste at the Silver Bay, the Reserve Mining Company. And those tailings were actually contaminated with asbestos-like material that was showing up in the drinking water in Duluth and Superior, Wisconsin. This was a landmark EPA case when EPA first came out, and they didn't stop that until 1980. Another issue, and I mentioned mercury, some of the largest contributors of mercury emissions were two smelters in particular, one at Wawa and one at White Pine. That smelter contributed 550 kilograms a year of mercury to the basin. And as I pointed out, the tailings basin is over 14,000 acres of land. Also, another problem with this with this mine is that they punctured through into a heavily brine aquifer beneath the mine that is still threatening Lake Superior, and the company is required to pump water into it to keep that brine down, but that's going to have to go on forever, and that's called perpetual maintenance. When you have to keep repairing these things at these mine sites forever, that's another thing that we really want to avoid. The Wawa sintering plant, the damage done by that huge area known as the fume kill extends for over 40 kilometers and is visible from space still, even though that mine was shut down in 1998. Taconite mining is also still a big source of mercury. An expansion may result in more mercury. These are charts that were developed by the Lake Superior Binational Program for the Zero Discharge Demonstration Program, and show the gray area in here shows the contributions of taconite mining to mercury emissions within the Lake Superior Basin. So here's another satellite photo, and I'm not sure if you can see this very well. I thought it might turn out better. But again, as Dr. Kessler pointed out, these are the mines here, the iron mines here, and white pine. But the point I wanted to make is that these are visible from satellite. They are massive, and there are several new proposals, one in northern Wisconsin for a very large iron mine. It would be 4 miles long and 1 mile deep. It would change the landscape of northern Wisconsin, and it is in the headwaters of the Bad River Reservation that they count on for their sustenance. Another one is in Minnesota, the Polymet mine, which would be a large open pit sulfide mine, which has never been done in the Great Lakes. And another one in Marathon in Ontario, which will require perpetual maintenance with large tailings dams, filling in of wetlands, and perpetual maintenance is something that really should be avoided, because the generations ahead will be left with the cleanup. And again, the area around here, just showing some damage from mercury that went through underground workings in Ishpeming and contaminated Deer Lake, which is another Great Lakes area of concern. Another thing I wanted to point out is the massive scale of these mines and tailings. Mount Arvon is the tallest peak in Michigan, or was the tallest peak, until the tailings or the waste rock piles at these mines are now higher than the tallest peak in Michigan. So that's the amount of material there that has changed our landscape here. So just again, the scale of mining around Lake Superior, Klaus Oswald with the Lake Superior Binational Forum has been painstakingly looking at or plotting all of the old and abandoned mines around Lake Superior. This is just for the Canadian side, but you can see how many mines there has been around Lake Superior, and then looking at the proposed mines and all the exploration going on around Lake Superior. This is a map by Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission, looking at the current and proposed mines. So again, the Marathon mine up here, the Polymet mine, and not located on here is the proposal in Wisconsin for the iron mine in the Bad River watershed. So what are the main concerns? Habitat loss. Thousands of acres of wetlands around Lake Superior will be destroyed if some of these mines go in. Acid mine drainage. When you have sulfide minerals that are exposed to oxygen, they start producing acid, and that acid then leaches out more heavy metals. It's one of the main problems with metal mining. So that is a real concern. Air emissions from the new smelters or processing plants could doom the binational program, Zero Discharge Demonstration Program, if they're allowed to go in. And then again, perpetual maintenance. So as a previous speaker mentioned, one of the planning tools that could be used is to look 7 generations into the future. And when you're looking at the incredible wealth that can be generated in a short time, but then the misery and the amount of cleanup that future generations will have to do around this, which is our greatest asset, the Great Lakes. So I would like the governor or the mayors to consider that when they look at new mining projects. Thank you.